Avarie Howard here with Damon Benning to recap last week's win against Cincinnati and to look forward to this weekend's game against Akron. Damon, I want to start with what we saw in Game 1 and just what stood out to you immediately when you were watching it live.
Well, I think for a couple different things. I think it's really good teachable tape. You did enough to get the win, but can still improve in some areas that I think really put some meat to what the coaches have been talking about, right? You can talk about pad level and head placement and, different techniques, game speed. But until you actually see it and feel it, you just don't know. All right, I was encouraged after watching the game and kind of didn't have a ton of time to get into it on Friday because I had only been home about an hour before the show started. And then we came back on Tuesday. I was encouraged by what the coaches said based on what I saw. There's enough good in there where you never apologize for a win, but there's enough teaching tape in there to kind of keep you hungry. I felt like they kept their composure pretty well, which is something when you have expectations and you're trying to turn the corner to become a winning program, you have to manage the moment. I felt like they're growing in that area, and you could see that right before our very eyes. And I felt like, they kept their cool. It would have been easy to kind of panic and start to play a little bit more hero ball when it got tight, especially when you had 3 or 4 opportunities to make it a 3-score game, and you didn't get it done. So I think nothing sweeping in terms of individual performances, but in its totality, I kind of like their poise.
When you watched the game tape back a second time, was there anything that you caught, or was there emotions about something that you didn't see the first time that makes you either feel positive or negative? Yeah,
I think defensively, really getting a chance to understand what they wanted to do or were attempting to do versus the outcome, right? You spent 2 quarters really stymieing a ground game that yielded 200 yards, and I get it. You don't want 90-some of them to come from your quarterback or, in essence, in 2.5 drives. But, again, it's correctable. So I felt like going through what I think they want to accomplish schematically versus, it's tactical versus technical, right? It's the plan versus the execution. And that's where coaching comes in, right? It's their job to make sure the guys that continue to elevate and know what the outcome is supposed to be versus, man, early on I'm like, this should get a better result. I think I said it a couple times in the broadcast. The way that they played this should have yielded a better result than it got. Yeah. So I feel like the coach in me says that's always correctable. It wasn't near as bad as I thought maybe early on about them situationally not being prepared, right? I'm like, got to get lined up. You have to get this or communication. And there was some of that, not near as bad as I thought. And then offensively, I said this second drive just because you can see. I have like the cheat code, right? I can see. I have my own all 22, right? Yeah. All the time. I could see that Cincinnati was going to keep things in front, and they were going to rally to the ball. Keep it in front, rally to the ball. And so I think the second series, I said, this is going to be interesting for Coach Holgorsen's patience. I said this to Kyle, where Nebraska can play catch all night long in front of Cincinnati if they want to. It's will they choose to or have the discipline enough to be able to do that? And I get it. Some of the fan base, where are the shot plays? And there just weren't a ton of opportunities to get vertical with the way that they're playing. And it doesn't mean they can't. It just means like those guys have a dry erase board and they scout too. Yeah. Right? And I felt like defensively Cincinnati did a good job with their scheme. They were a little bigger up front than I thought when I was down on the field because O-line, D-line had gone in. So I got a chance to really see the skill guys at that time. And I felt like Nebraska on the hoof had a little bit of an advantage. And then I saw the size of Cincinnati's O-line and D-line. I'm like, those are some big guys. And so they're well coached defensively. The Bearcats are. Yeah, so it leads me to 2 things. One, with the patience that Nebraska was forced to play with that Coach Holgorsen has been teaching this explosiveness through routine plays, and that really wasn't coming for them. What does that say maybe about the maturity or the discipline that the offense was willing to have, even when they said, okay, we're routine, and we're still not finding it?
What do you think that says about what they were able to do and still find ways to get points? I know they didn't finish with drives to touchdowns as much as they'd like, but there was moments where I'm sure it's game one. You're ready to chuck it down the field. But what does that say about just sticking to the game plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I'm listening to it, you're still looking for proof of concept, because what he was saying all fall camp is the big plays come from being able to do the routine.
Right.
And I think situationally, they did a real good job of getting one-on-ones. Right? Like, you've got a free defender and a player with the ball in his arms one-on-one. That's really what you want as an offensive coordinator. As Nebraska continues to evolve and develop from an experience standpoint, they'll start to win some more of those one-on-ones after the catch. How many times did we see, a running back target and he has one guy to beat? Mm-hmm. Now, to EJ's defense, a lot of times his back was to the defender, mm-hmm. and Cincinnati's coming to make a play where they're rallying forward. Or you see Dane Key win in the slot right off the line of scrimmage, and he's got a defender to beat, and here comes the troops. Or Isaiah Hunter after the catch, who was pretty good. He's tough to get down. Yeah. It's how he practices. Those will come. I felt like I didn't love Cincinnati's technique in their tackling, but it was a good tackling team, and they understood the scheme. So offensively, the shot plays will come with running after the catch. It's not going to be, unless you're not a very good defense, where you just get the ball thrown over your head. Like, this is not going to happen, right? A ton. And I don't know if you want to hang your head on that. I mean, do you want to just say, hey, my guy's better than your guy, here's a 50-50 ball? Like, I don't know how much you're going to be able to make a living with that. And I think through the proof of concept is Nebraska's just going to continue to try to win those one-on-ones and be efficient with the football. They took good care of it for the most part.
Yeah, and that leads me to the next part of offense, too, and this is high on your list. You're going to be watching out for the run game. What kind of statement do you think we saw from Emmett Johnson in game one to pick up essentially where he left off last season? He had his first over 100 yards against Wisconsin last year, and then opens his season with over 100 yards in this game. What did he prove to you in game one?
That he took the necessary time to get his body in shape. His mind is right. His body's right. Now, you still have, at minimum, 11 more games to go. But what it showed me is he embraced the challenge of being the every down back. Now, I mean, Coach Rhule did take it upon himself on 2 or 3 different occasions during the press conference to talk about the rotation in the running back room. So I think he wants to see that evolve. But if you're just talking about EJ alone in terms of what he brought to the table, I thought it was impressive. I'd like to see Nebraska with a little bit more downhill run game where you maybe don't utilize offset backs as much as you maybe put them in pistol formation and line up and go at folks versus right to left, then get downhill, because I think they do have some graders up front on the offensive line that will play to those strengths. And these backs are really good at making the first guy miss typically.
I want to bring up a couple moments that happened in the game. And don't get me wrong, there were a few that, the false start. We've talked about that. We've heard the coaches speak on it. Coach Holgorsen was very upfront about it. But I want to talk about a few moments in the game that, when I asked you last week, hey, where will there be moments where we've seen growth in this team? And I think when you see the false start happen and that turns a 16-play drive into 3 points, what happened afterwards was the response, where Archie put within the 10, Vincent Shavers forces the fumble, and they do capitalize with points before the half. I don't know if we've seen that in a previous team, right, where they're going into the half feeling, hey, that wasn't how we wanted to finish, but we got points out of it. And then later when you have coming out of the halftime, Emmett Johnson drops that pass early, but then he has the next run and a very strong run to set the tone. And then later you have Malcolm, who has the penalty, but then makes the play, right? I feel like those were 3 moments where I know when everyone wants to focus on all these little things, how did those kind of moments, we heard Coach Butler yesterday say teachable tape. I feel like those were moments. It was like, okay, that feels like a changing momentum, and that's why some of those guys on the sidelines at the end of the game were like, I don't feel too nervous because we've made plays when we needed to.
Oh, you're getting me real time. That's impressive. Like, I'm listening to – and I didn't put it in that scope.
I just threw a lot at you, but those were moments that
that's fantastic. That's
marked down.
That's a fantastic kind of synopsis right there, and it's critical. So I'll take the first one and go one by one. The punting, the 3 points, you're disappointed.
Yeah.
Right? You had 3 more cracks at it from 5 yards out. I think you wanted to go for it on fourth, but you didn't get any positivity happening on third down with the play call. You kicked the field goal. Emotionally, you feel like you settled, right? But what do you do immediately? You get a stop, you get a turnover, then you convert that to a touchdown before you go in at the half. Beautiful. Like old Durr, Nebraska a few years ago wouldn't have gotten that done. And they did a really good job of staying in the moment because that stuff's not their burden to bear.
No.
Right? This new year, new team.
But it felt different.
It did.
Yeah. That was a detail.
Like we usually are on the receiving end of somebody doing that to Nebraska. Nebraska finally did it this time. The EJ thing with the drop, get the next play. How many times we heard Holgo say that, right? Hey, get the next play. Stay right here. Get the next play. Get the next play. And for EJ, he bounces it to the outside and he gets downhill. He finishes the run. It's like, hey, guys, I got your back, right? I'm not going to be in my feels. I'm ready to move on.
How he finished the run, I think, is what set the tone.
Yeah, you could feel.
I wanted that back.
Yep. Like, I got you guys. Which I would love as a teammate because it just makes it easy for you to want to go pick him up, too.
We know he's locked in.
Yeah, I got you, too.
Yeah.
Right? Appreciate you looking out for me. Hartzog, I couldn't be happier. You know how I feel about Malcolm just because we're together all the time. And he's just one of my favorite competitors. And I didn't love the holding call, and I get it. People, man, DB, you just like Malcolm. I didn't love the call. The play that I was probably more bothered by was giving up the speed out a little earlier. And then you get the PI. And I got to tell you, the film won't do it justice because we don't have the all-22. At the snap of the ball, given the coverage that they wanted to play, like Malcolm's got to get over the top of number one. When that ball is snapped, he's like 7 yards deep.
Yeah.
He should probably be closer to 10 to 12, but he wanted to bait the throw and have you think that he was going to be open. I mean, that's pretty gutsy. I don't think Coach Butler would draw it up to be that shallow to have to get back into the half. But that's a guy that understands what he's capable of. He knew the look that he wanted to show the quarterback, and he made him pay. That's a guy that has forgotten about the Minnesota post corner. That's a guy that forgot about what happened in Los Angeles in the gated community. Like that's a guy that is grown, that's ready to embrace the moment. I like those three examples, and I'm going to be honest. I didn't even think of it until you asked me.
I got DB on something.
I appreciate that.
And I know there seems to be some nervous energy on just what the score of this game was, but poetic, if you will, I don't know. But what do you think the meaning will be of this first game if Nebraska continues to see progress, that we wash that real quick, that we can win a one-score game and do it because the defense went and made a play? Yeah,
I mean, we've heard all the terminologies, right? The equalizer, Mr. McCall says, when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud. Or, you want patience. You get things to grow patience. You don't just get patience. If Nebraska wants to be the kind of team that plays with poise and stays in the moment, you need all the opportunities you can get to grow you in those areas. And so I don't look at the score and I'm disappointed. It was supposed to be a close game. It was a one-score game in Vegas. Nebraska had 4 different opportunities to make it a 3-score game. They played it a certain way. I don't look at the final score and feel, elated or deflated. I look at it as we got to win. Let's continue to control the controllables, and let's get coached, right? Those are games that Nebraska typically hasn't won.
Yeah.
And I think learning to win is so important if you ever want to learn to win close games. It has to come first. It can't always be comfortable and chummy and go the way you want it to if you want to grow in that area. You got to deal with a little mud.
Well, let's turn our attention to this week, and we've already heard from coaches, players. I want to start there for a second. What did you hear from Coach Rhule that caught your attention from what he said on Monday?
Intensity. He was very specific. Little things like, hey, I'm not going to play to the happy narrative. I'm not going to play the doom and gloom narrative. I'm going to look at this tape and I'm going to go back to our fundamentals, and we need angles and pad level and using hands, and I want to compete for jobs and want guys to understand that it's competitive out here. I love that. I listened to Coach Holgorsen talk about the patience that it takes and the growth in the offense in terms of what he wants to do, what Cincinnati was doing versus what Akron's doing, and how that relates to the thought process, but they still have their own business to take care of. And then Coach Butler, who he couldn't get that presser over quick enough. He looked like a guy that wanted to kick the podium down, be done with it, and get back out on the practice field. And you know that's one of my favorite things about him. JB is ultra competitive, and he loves to teach. And there's enough good teaching tape out there from what happened in Kansas City versus Cincinnati where a guy like him is chomping at the bit to get back to the drawing board. See, guys, listen, when I talk about pad level, this is pad level. When I talk about taking on a block to occupy and being unselfish, this is what I'm talking about. When I talk about explosive movement, this is not explosive here. Or look, here, this is explosive. Or affecting the quarterback's eyes pre-snap. He's got so much tape that he can use, and you have 2.5 good quarters of really good defense versus some plays where they got you with tempo or you're a little misaligned. You panicked a little bit because you play a ton of man-to-man, and communication has to be at an all-time high. You got to learn to think when you're tired. I mean, that's a huge – some guys will feel like, man, I'm 75, 80% here. I'm a little this. What is your 80% like? What is your 70% like? Whatever you have, give it to me.
Yeah.
And we'll let the chips fall where they may, because those guys got to worry about their fitness too. So you got stressed in some areas where now you'll be better equipped to deal with tempo. And thankfully, at least for the next handful of weeks, you won't play a team with all those condensed sets with that kind of motion in an opener where communication is so critical, and trust. Stopping the run and playing good defense is about trust. Do I trust my teammates needing to be where they're going to be so I can just do my 1 of 11? I liked Coach Butler's approach.
So I was going to go one direction with my follow-up here, but you just raised – I'm going to go back to Cincinnati real quickly because I think Butler brought up an interesting point yesterday. Because this veteran secondary covered so well, even though it was something they don't think they're going to see a whole lot like they did from the Cincinnati quarterback, how crucial do you think that might be because of how locked down the secondary might be the rest of the season? Like, hey, we might force a quarterback to run on us more. This game might be critical for us.
So they got a couple of it's not issues, it's just how you want to play it, right? If we're really good in man-to-man outside the numbers and they can run with some guys, how many do we want to play with in the box? Is there another scheme that we can utilize getting more eyes in the backfield while those guys are playing man-to-man? And how do we build on stopping the QB run game if we get it in terms of lane integrity? When I say lane integrity, I just mean when I rush the passer and we want to get after him, how disciplined am I being to keep rushers from escaping? And who am I playing that poses that problem? So now Nebraska can look at a guy like Sorsby, who's going to get paid to play on Sundays. He's a big, strong runner. Okay, so we get guys that are pocket guys. How do we enhance what we like to do defensively? Okay, we've got another running type. What do we do different the first time? I think Nebraska comes out of this deal in Cincy, especially against Akron, with more answers, potential answers, than I think they do questions because of how they defended outside the numbers.
Okay, so that leads me to Akron this week, and we heard, Holgorsen say they are the defense. This is going to show us a different look than what we were seeing against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was very detailed in how they play defense. What have you seen from Akron and what they're going to present to Nebraska's offense this weekend? So
a little more matchup, a little more man-to-man, and the concepts of down linemen versus what Cincinnati plays, a little more traditional with Akron. So I think concepts-wise, Nebraska stays about where they were. Now, the ability to get vertical, you may get some more one-on-ones without kind of that shell look. And intermediate, can Nebraska make some hay? If you really want to see if this offense is clicking, in my opinion, in the passing game, it's how many throws are they willing to make from hash to hash, from where the snap of the ball is to about 15 yards. What's the intermediate passing game look like? If you want to get vertical outside the numbers, you have to keep defenses honest with what I call body shots or belly blows. I can't go to the head for a knockout shot if I haven't softened you up in the midsection. I got to get you to bring your hands down. If I can start playing catch, you saw Mills come wide open on the little shallow cross. Coach Holgorsen is really good with mesh concepts. Mesh concepts aren't as good with the look that Cincinnati was giving them. Are those opportunities there? If Nebraska can play catch from hash to hash, they're going to get their shot plays.
We know how important the week 1 to week 2 jump is for Coach Rhule, and we heard Holgorsen say we were so tired of camp. There was nothing more for us to learn.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, like we needed to play the game.
Yeah. They just weren't going to get any better.
Yeah, like we need the tape. We need to see a different opponent. What will you be looking for in week 2 where you say, okay, they needed to play that week 1 game because this improved drastically into week 2?
So I'll tell you a couple things. If I'm a guy I'll just use a specific. If I'm Ja'Cory Barney and I'm not the primary recipient of a route, how hard am I coming off the ball? If I'm Isaiah Hunter and I'm on the backside of a route, am I really occupying that backside safety so I can get a route underneath? If I'm Latovsky, initial contact, really, really good. Am I finishing my blocks? If I'm a running back, and listen, one thing I'm working on this week, if I'm Nebraska and their running backs, it's getting my head around after pass catches, right? Like, where's the defenders? Is it man versus zone? Where will these guys probably be coming from? You want little nuances to get better. Understand what defenses are trying to do to you. On the catch, do I want to turn inside or do I want to turn outside? Where's the flow? Those little things, I'm telling you, sure as I'm sitting here, will turn 6-yard gains into 60-yard gains if you start to do the things that are really, really unselfish every time a play is called where you just execute your 1 of 11. The game will change tremendously.
We know no one will be happier to hear that than Coach Holgorsen, or to see that, that is. I guess a quick wrinkle in that question, what are you looking for week 1, week 2 in special teams?
So, obviously, you don't want to kick balls out of bounds. The decisions in the return game, I really, they left a few yards out on the one return that they got. It was set up nicely. You had really go back and take a look at how they had that thing blocked. You kind of want a mulligan, and you don't get a ton of those opportunities in the kick game where they give you a returnable ball. You got to make teams pay there, so you want to get better there. Obviously, I just mentioned you don't want to kick balls out of bounds. And the other thing is make it a habit. Coach Rhule said something casually where, we expect to make 52-yard field goals. And you're like, that'd be new, right? Mm-hmm. If you get to that kind of efficiency and proficiency level where that's what you expect, the whole world changes for you. So I think the special teams, while markedly better than it has been, I do love the fact that they know that there's room for improvement.
Okay, your question to end this, I'm going to change it from Nebraska win if to the biggest thing you're looking for in week 2 is?
So I'll give you 2. I'll give you 1 on offense, 1 on defense. I want to see more guys do things at a high rate of speed when their number isn't called on offense. Do your 1 of 11. If I'm on the backside on O-line, cut his ass off. If I'm on the backside of a route, occupy. If I'm not a primary, don't be busy just being busy. Be productive. On defense, it's play faster. You're a fast team. You run well. You got the pregame jitters and all the motion that you were getting. When you play so much man-to-man, motion sucks. I'm just telling you, But the reward is you can lock guys up on the outside and really get busy with neutralizing the passing game if your corners can really cover like that. So I'm looking to see guys on the second level get downhill, read their keys, and on the first level, if I'm an occupy guy, use my correct shoulder, take it on. If his head gets down, I get down. No hero ball, just play faster and trust your teammates.
Well, we'll see what that looks like here this Saturday when Nebraska plays host to Akron, their first home game of the season, under the lights at 6:30 p.m. Clear. Thanks.